Santiago Cifre here from the Cifre Center. Nice to see you. As I said on the last video, it's very short, that we decided to treat anxiety a little bit more in a way that gives better information so that people can help themselves. So, I'm glad that Don Quixote wasn't written during the Twitter era, because 140 characters, that would be like essentially Sancho looks at Don Quixote and say, he's crazy, and that's it, the book's over. But so, in other words, we got to give this subject a little bit more time than 3-minute video, intended to help those who need it. So, if that's not your situation, then you skip it, and if you know anyone who actually can use this information, then we'll do it 7-10 minutes, as much as we can. So we discussed about the fact that anxiety is becoming a big problem in our society. A lot of it is done to accumulated stress. True, anxiety can be due to trauma during childhood or adulthood. PTSD, big one, from the service people coming back and other people who have gone through trauma. Certain medical conditions, phobias. There are other causes like that, but the main chunk of anxiety cannot be described by that. Now, some people believe that it's an imbalance in certain neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, or I always say, what came first, the neurotransmitters or the chicken? I don't know, you answered that. I'm just going to base what I'm going to say on my experience, reading this for many, many years. And, just as unfortunately many people know and have experienced, anxiety has a huge component of fear. Sometimes I refer to it when it's real bad as a terror within, and feel very bad for the people who have to go through this and who require medications to treat this. And a fear of what's going on, terror, and it has all those symptoms, nervousness, fast breathing, palpitations, feeling almost like paralyzed, sweating, rapid thoughts. It can be tremendously uncomfortable and disturbing. But otherwise, other than the things that are clearly pointed out, because it's obvious that that's how the anxiety comes from, what I have found is when there is not clear diagnosis, a clear idea of why, it has to do, maybe not 100%, but a lot, with patterns, paradigms, systems of attachment. And these systems of attachment create energy blockages, energy imbalances, accumulation, impaction of energy. And the energy, like physics tells us, has to be released somehow. It's done through the nervous system. So at the most basic level, anxiety is an imbalance of the yin and the yang of the nervous system, which is called the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of the automatic nervous system. The sympathetic is about the fight or flight response mechanism. So if you have a tiger running behind you, you better get really anxious and really quickly, because you need a lot of adrenaline to get out of that situation. And once the situation is over, you will come down. That's called the parasympathetic nervous system, or the peaceful awareness relaxation response. What happens during meditation. That's where the spot where we get to. But most people in this society don't have the tiger or the lion running behind them. They still get the same sympathetic, stressful response, and they get the anxiety. And sometimes, or a lot of the time, it's very bad. So what can we do about it, okay, in the process of healing from this? As I mentioned in the previous video, the number one thing that we have to start with is naming the monster under the bed, lifting the cover and saying, I know you're there, hello, and see you later. Naming, in other words, insight. We need insight on why this is happening. We need to contemplate what's happening. Contemplation, meditation, visualization. So meditation is a very powerful tool to counteract anxiety and also to help overcome it. Right? In meditation, you sit with your back straight. It can be on a chair. You don't have to be on the floor. Although, whatever, seated meditation on the floor, laying down on a chair. Put your hands in any position. It can be like this. It can be like this. It can be like this. It can be. I use the Zen approach, which is focused, pointed, insight meditation. the breath. It's focus pointed because you're not an actor here that's attached to all these thoughts. You realize that 90% or more of the thoughts that we think are crap. They have nothing to do with our reality. Yet we think that thoughts are something. And in reality, I'll tell you this, thoughts are everything except reality, right? They're energy. Okay, no one's opened the brain and actually found a thought in there, right? So we are not going to act on the thoughts. We are, through the meditation, you let the thoughts pass. You're not an actor in this drama. You're a detached observer. And what happens in a magical way is that all overactivity just goes down. And you find yourself in the peaceful awareness response mechanism, or whatever you want to call it, where everything is tranquil and everything is peaceful and everything is relaxed. The complete opposite of an anxiety state. Most anxiety states are self-induced due to, again, the attachments that we have, okay, with the chronic unacceptance that we have. And what happens with chronic attachment, chronic unacceptance, chronic overthinking, chronic overwearing, wearing is a system. People, sometimes we grow up in conditions that we learn all this ways to adapt and cope, but actually at the end they're not so positive. One of them is worry systems and fear systems of living. And so what happens is all of these energies accumulate and accumulate. It's like stress, right? And accumulate heavy personal stress. Mind you, and I repeat this, I am not talking about situations where there is a clear reason for the anxiety. For example, Afghanistan battlefield, a robbery, okay, trauma, a learned process at home that was very clear and can be identified by your psychotherapist, because in the process of getting insight and you're making your team, putting a team together to help, if you have very heavy-duty anxiety, I tell you, this is going to help you a lot. Obviously, acupuncture is a #1 way without drugs to actually bring down all of the physiological bad symptoms of anxiety very quickly. Okay? So part of your team has to be someone that does the acupuncture. This is my recommendation. But obviously, you need psychotherapy with psychotherapist that can use cognitive and perhaps mindfulness-based practice to help you get the insight into the attachment systems if you're not a PTSD or a trauma or a phobia person. But even in those situations, this will help you too, and rely less on drugs. So your psychotherapist can help you get the insight that is so important in every aspect of life, but particularly when we are going to overcome something like clinical anxiety, which is what I'm talking about here. We are going to get anxious. This is life, okay? Anxiety is just part of life, but that anxiety is not a chronic, clinical, multi-symptom anxiety. Yeah, you might get a little anxious, your heart might be a little fast and all that, but you know, it's overcome. It passes. The other one, the one that is not overcome, that we need to have medications in order to come down, well, that one is the one I'm talking about. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but also we do know that certain medical conditions, certain drug abuse and alcohol overuse will all contribute to anxiety disorders. So if we have the insight in all those conditions that can be identified, oh, you know what, I need to drink less. Identified. You know what, you use Coke, you got to stop using it. Even coffee if it's too much. Okay, if you can identify, then you can get help to get over that component, there it goes. But when none of those things are involved, it's all of a sudden I'm in a panic. What have I done? Okay, I don't have a health condition that will give me that. I don't have abuses, issues, no PTSD, no trauma, no phobias. Where does that come from? We go back to the beginning. Meditation, acupuncture, a good therapist, mindfulness practice, and the mindfulness principles will help you overcome the most likely reasons. That is, first, the insight to identify the paradigms, the systems of attachment, okay, and chronic resentments and stressors that have not been dealt with, and chronic unacceptance, and all of these other mindfulness related components that are feeding the energy blockage in your organs and in your system, okay, that eventually is going to blow into an anxiety attack. So the 16th century Zen patriarch Dogen was asked, Dogen, where is the mind? It's called a koan. You have to come up with an answer that makes no sense. You cannot come up with this answer on the basis of objective rationalism. And Dogen finally said, in my big toe. The point is that we are connected, as we know through science now, by receptor sites all over the body. Was used before, people thought that basically it's a top-down operation only with the brain, and the brain only the signals, but the signals are all over the place. That's why my mind and your mind is not just here, but also in your big toe. It's all over the place, okay? And it's in your organs, because now we know, on the basis of the receptor side knowledge, that the organs and all the body and the cells and the brain have a symbiotic relationship, connected. It's like yin yang, right? So any of those energies that are stagnated due to chronic unacceptance, significant super heavy-duty stress that have not been dealt with, anxiety situations that have not been uncovered, the reason why, but there is no insight, patterns of blockages, really, because that's what we're talking about, of significant attachments to poor systems of coping, like worry, like fear. All of this basically affect our organs in the sense that the energy gets blocked all over, and eventually the nervous system goes out of balance and it blows up into a big anxiety attack. So, insight, number one, okay? Working with your psychotherapist or your coach or whoever it is, your psychiatrist, if they do this kind of work. Because without insight, there is no way of resolving the existential condition. Sure, Xanax is a great pill, and it will knock you out if necessary, but it'll come back tomorrow. So you take more Xanax, okay? Now, it's a wonderful thing to take in an emergency, but your job is to get the insight, because the insight will give you the information of your patterns of imbalance. The insight will give you the information of the imbalance in the existential issue, and that's the number one, the monster under the bed. Then you put your team together. You do the insight practices, take a little bit of yoga, meditation, tai chi, put it into a program, acupuncture and herbal medicine. People don't know, there are great herbal medicines that have tremendous calming effect and very healthy for the body. That's what I do over the last 20 years. So I use a combination as well, not only of the insight we're talking about, the meditation practice, the visualization practice, so that we can uncover details about what's affecting us that is transforming, is blowing up into an anxiety state. And once you do this work with your team, okay, meditation, other insight practices, perhaps a little bit of Tai Chi, just walking around, dealing with your stress, with your psychotherapist, your acupuncturist, with someone who can, like me, that we can discuss this on the basis of the Tai Chi philosophy or the mindfulness principles, you will have tools that you can apply now so that you can, once and for all, overcome clinical anxiety and all the, symptoms that come with it. So that's basically what I'm going to leave you with right now, is that you have things that you can do that are very helpful. You can learn tools that you can apply yourself once you learn them. You don't need external people. You need, at the beginning, you need external, because it's a team, it's like a coach, and you gotta go and check with them, and perhaps you need another acupuncture treatment next week or in a month if you're feeling kind of iffy, but it's in a process that you're taking control of your life. And rather than trying to over control, that's over control. Another cause of anxiety. These are the mindfulness-based causes. They're not the medical causes, but oh my God, they're there. Over-attachment, over-control, chronic unacceptance. You realize that basically a person who chronically unaccepts reality, basically eventually you can't even go insane. It's not just Alzheimer's, really. It's about what we do here right now, which is exactly the basis of mindfulness practice. So I leave you with that. I hope that this is going to help you. You know, I am here if you need me, if you need to call me, if you need to send me an email, if you need some treatment and some coaching on how to apply these techniques. Most important thing is it is within your reach to accomplish this, okay? And it doesn't have to cause you all of this suffering. And with that, have a happy weekend.